Okay, so I'm, as you can probably tell, on the line, waiting to, waiting to have a conversation. Oh, okay. All right, maybe I'll just hang up. Uh, yeah, yeah, that music. Like, I imagine it works for some people, but I was not into that music. Okay, so I'll deal with that later. I just I wanted to invite us into. Okay, as you can probably tell, I am stressed. That's a call related to trying to get my deposit back, and it's just very frustrating. And there's been so many frustrations around it, but I don't want to spend the next hour talking about that. I just think I needed to say I'm dealing with some stressful stuff about getting my deposit back, and it doesn't feel like I'm being treated fairly, and I don't want that to be the main focus of this video, but at the same time, I think that it is an opportunity to practice an opportunity to practice emotional regulation, an opportunity to be intentional about being present when things are stressful, and to show up for myself with compassion and kindness after having some experiences of feeling like things aren't fair. And that happens so often to so many of us in so many different ways. And I am very privileged and have access to some incredible opportunities and experiences, and I don't want to deny that. And also, I do want to be vulnerable and real about being stressed about getting my deposit back and feeling like I'm not being treated fairly by the people that are on the other side of the deposit. I've just had so many challenges over the last couple of years around housing, and so many of us are having so many challenges around housing, and it's so unfair and infuriating. And I see my siblings and my parents and my cousins and their families having housing, even like owning homes, and I'm just struggling and living in this RV with animals in the walls, and I have some strong feelings about the differences in our access to housing and safety and being able to just survive. I'm struggling. But I don't want that to be the focus of this video either, because I actually want this to be a video about love. And I want this to be about loving ourselves, especially when we've been let down, especially when we're having a hard time, especially when we're stressed out. And a part of me thinks, oh, if you want to talk about love and touch and pleasure and consent, then you should be at your very best, at 100%, to have these conversations. And I'm never at 100%. I am very anxious about my survival economically, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. It is so difficult to exist in this culture where there are so many barriers to being and loving and connecting. And while I am somewhat dysregulated, unfortunately, as so many of us have, I've had a lot of experience with being dysregulated and needing to find a way to make it through the day. And my aspiration in life, to quote Beyonce, that's one of her lyrics, my aspiration in life. And my aspiration in life is to love abundantly, to love to the tips of my fingers and my nose and my toes, to love beyond my wildest dreams. And I've created a fantasy where I am this boyfriend. It's an imaginary boyfriend. And there's empathy and intention around love, around safety, around wanting the best for each other, wanting each other to have our basic needs met, to not be so stressed out about the price of berries that I bought strawberries after getting gently nudged by a car and feeling like my life could be over at any second. I'm gonna invest in strawberries. Like that is just infuriating, that access to fruit and berries is something that so many of us struggle to make it through the day and have fruit or vegetables. Most of my life as an adult, I was too anxious financially to buy fruits and vegetables. And I wonder what impact that has on my health. Right now I'm buying apples mostly and carrots because they're the most affordable, and it's just, it doesn't feel fair. And then I had that shift this week booked, and I was so excited about that, and it fell through with no reasonable explanation. And I have to wonder if I might have gotten dropped because of who I am, because of who I love, because of yeah, it's infuriating. And apparently there's no way, like, there's nothing I can do to actually get paid, despite, like, the atrocious communication by the company that said that I was confirmed for that. I'm angry. I'm deeply disappointed. I'm doing my best. Okay, I really don't want this to be a negative video. I want this to be a video about love. I want this to be a video about, like, really loving ourselves, really showing up for our hearts and for our bodies and for our minds. And I think that it's important to show up and nourish ourselves, especially when things are tough. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do. And so far, this has felt like quite a spiral, which is interesting because the part one, before I got interrupted by the phone, it didn't feel like a spiral. It felt uncomfortable and challenging, but in a more nourishing, transformative, heart-opening way. Whereas this feels more negative. It feels more like I'm stuck in the past, and it's not how I want to be. It's not how I want to feel. And I suppose it's a microcosm for the years that I've spent being quite stuck in the past and really wrestling with myself and putting myself down, beating myself up, and recognizing that pattern does feel like a win. Having this be a place where I can recognize that pattern and try to remind myself that I don't want to spend the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes or hour or 3 hours or lifetime going in these negative spirals. And it is possible to spend a lifetime in a negative loop or spiral. And I am going to do my very best to break that cycle and find ways to choose love And I don't know if I said this earlier, but that phone call was related to one of the things that I'm quite stressed out about right now. And so I think having that phone call has changed kind of the arc of this and the arc of my day. And so now I need to find ways to change the arc. And my mind is thinking about calculus and the different angles. If you had a graph with time on the horizontal axis and then mood on, or maybe it would be like this, maybe it would be like, but however it is going up and down, and then how do you get it to go back up? And I think for each of us, the answer to that question is different. I kind of want to make a really terrible song right now. I don't think I've ever made those. I'm frothing at the mouth. This is awful. Awful and awesome. I am so angry. I resent my landlord and property manager. I have this strong suspicion that they are not treating me fairly based on texts and phone calls and conversations. It does not feel like my needs are important. And perhaps this is bringing up other experiences of neglect from my past as an adult and a child. This is exhausting, and I want to choose to love myself, especially because of these disappointments. So many disappointments. And if we can choose love after the heartbreak, and heartbreak's not just romantic, it can be so many different ways that our hearts can be broken. I've had my heart broken in ways that I never really see represented, but when you think that you trust somebody, or that you trust a team or a group, sometimes they break our hearts, and sometimes they don't really care about our well-being or our safety, even if we've had a near-death experience. And I would like to invite us to practice regulation through breathing and movement, through, well, that's just my shirt. Okay. Through massage, through, let me see if I can, oh. I was talking to somebody yesterday about letting go of things, and this person was skillful at letting go and apparently holds no grudges at all. period.